United States, and for those of you in Australia and around the rest of the world, that's craziness and mayhem in this country. You can't get anything done, and you're lucky to get a reservation in a restaurant or a bar here. If it has a TV, it's going to be packed in there with people watching the Super Bowl. So that's a huge priority in life here. Yes, of course, it should be business. It should be your future. But for some reason, right here in the United States, we'll just blank out, lock out, and sports is a big deal here, just like it is soccer and stuff around the world. So for those of you that are here this morning, I want to congratulate you for taking the time to be with us here on a training Saturday. You know, it's a testament to the desire you have and the drive you have. You know, you just heard me talk a little bit with Dave Blackburn, who mentored me into the precious metals business. I didn't even know too much about it. I've always been a collector. I've always had coins. I've always collected rare things, and just to not to the degree until I met David. But Dave mentored me into an amazing business. We're hugely, wildly successful. But along with that success, as many of you know, there's a few doctors on here. You've got clinics and you've got employees. And with that comes a lot of stress, a lot of tension, a lot of worry. Wakes you up in the middle of the night, a lot of responsibilities. And, you know, business is business. It just, what is it? It defines your success, right? We're in business because we want to be successful. And your success is determined by how much effort you put in. And you're here today, and that proves that you're willing to put out the effort. With AEGEA, guys, I wasn't looking for an opportunity. I'm a pretty busy guy. I've got multiple businesses in the medical world now, medical profession, and the product development, patents, all sorts of things. They all stemmed from what I learned really in the last 10, 15, 20 years in the school of hard knocks. But I wasn't looking for anything. But success usually comes to those who are just too busy to be looking for it, right? And when you're really busy and you have that mindset to be successful, you're usually focused. And then sometimes things will come along. You take a look to the left, and you're like, wow, I can't pass that up. That's what AEGEA is and was and is to me. And just to be rubbing elbows with some people that are just great mentors, great in this industry, great in this business, whether it's Jeff Cohen, the CEO, and his pedigree, where he comes from, what he's done, what his successes, and of course, Dave Blackburn, who doesn't have to work a day in his life. Well, let me tell you, this man is in his early 50s. He'll tell you he's early 70s, but he acts like he's younger than any of us. That man really should be out playing golf, or just hanging out and watching the Super Bowl. But here he is today, and he's engaged and loving this business, AEGEA. He loves watching the growth. Why? Because he's too busy to be looking for opportunity when it came. And just before I get George on the phone here and shut up so we can get to the business of learning this business, you know, success is not final. Failure is not fatal. And it's the courage to continue that counts. It's the courage to continue when things feel really rough. I watched a great thing I post on Facebook. It's from an admiral talking about going through SEAL training here in the United States and what it takes just to be successful, and how many times you just want to quit. And it's those people that just don't quit that succeed. If you've read the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, there's a little segment in there. He talks about 3 feet from the gold. And this guy bought some mining equipment. If you've read this, apologize for it. He bought some mining equipment, and he was grinding away out in California in the 1800s. And he really he was out of his league. He shouldn't have been doing that. But that guy kept digging, then wore that machine almost out, and he just quit. Sold the machine as scrap. The guy who bought it for scrap thought he might just crank it up for a couple of days. 3 feet later, he struck the biggest vein of gold in California. The lesson learned from that for a lot of us would be, that's it, I'm jumping off a bridge. But the gentleman that sold the equipment went on to build one of the largest insurance companies in the country, and became a multi-millionaire, probably more successful than he could have ever been with that machine digging gold. But the lesson he learned is just don't stop, don't quit, because you could be 3 feet from your wildest dreams. And you can't be successful unless your eyes wide open, right? Unless you're looking. As I said before, sometimes when you're not looking, success comes along, but that's because you're focused and you're looking at what you're doing. So focus in on this. Focus in on what George has to say today. He's out there in Las Vegas. He's got a young child. He's a lot older than me, and he's got a long child. We kind of kid around because I have a 3.5-year-old. I'm 56, and those babies keep us young, and that's why we're here. That's our why. Our why is our children, our loved ones, and we want to mentor them and show them through experience and by example. And George personifies that. He's a super successful man, very successful in this industry, even though, as I said, a lot of us are super successful in this business or in other businesses. We can always learn something from somebody else. You pull up a quote on Google right now, and you're guaranteed you're going to read something that just blows your mind and think, wow, just didn't think of that. And it just inspires you for the day. So for today, here at AEGEA Training, George Hoagland is our inspiration. So with that, I'm going to shut up, and George, I'm going to hand it over to you. Hey, thanks for being here for us today, man. You could be anywhere other than here, but you've decided that this business is important to you. We're important to you, so thanks for sharing with us today, my friend.
Well, thank you for those kind words, Shane. And for everybody online, really thank you for taking time to join us this morning. And, one of my inspirations is Mr. Jeff Cohen, because of his vision to start AEGEA and the tremendous 1 year it took to get where we are and the amount of obstacles he had to overcome. And it's really a vision of what we have to go through too. If you understand what the company's gone through, including what David Blackburn, and how we've stayed focused and not lost the vision, even though at times we had rocky days. And I want to start with a story. Last night I met with a friend of mine, and she told me a pretty amazing story. She had met at a training an individual woman who had sponsored, got to get some of these right. Now, by the way, the reason I do the notes here is because you may know that I was a school teacher for 15 years. I taught chemistry, some physics, biology, earth science. So I am just used to having people take notes. And I always want to take notes. Whenever I go to church, whenever I listen to somebody, I take notes. Why? Because that's how I learn. I like to go back and study them. So if you don't want to, that's fine. But if you take a few notes with this and follow along, I think you'll get some great nuggets. So the first one is, she told me a story about a woman that sponsored over 100 people. Now listen to this. Never talked to one person. I took me a few seconds to kind of digest that. So I want you to think about this. This woman had, in less than 6 months, had sponsored over 100 people, didn't talk to one person. Would you like to know what she did? Shane? I do. And so I asked her how. I'm going to go through that in just a minute. But I really want to ask you another question, and that is, why are you here this morning? What is it that you're looking for? What exactly do you want to know? What would you like to take away? And I can tell you this, that I'm going to pour my best nuggets into this, and hopefully you'll take some real things away that can really help you. And I want to start with, before I get to what she did, the 5 things that I'm going to recommend you do after you get this call. And the first one is to make a commitment to contact 3 to 5 people per day and partner with someone to hold you responsible. Now, where did I get this from? I got that from a company I looked at maybe 10, 15 years ago. And there were 3 individuals, Blake, Ryan, and Nick. And they made a commitment. Now, they're in college. I want you to mention it. Think about it. They're in freaking college. They went on to make millions. What was the commitment they made? contact 3 people every day, and at 11 o'clock at night, every night, they got together and they reviewed their notes. One night, one of them had only contacted 2 and said, look, I'll wait till the next day to do it. Shane, you know what happened? They said, no, that's not the agreement. We promised each other 3. You need to pick up the phone and call somebody. He says, no, I can't. It's too late. He says, pick it up and call. He called one of his friends who was sleeping, woke him up, and did the normal invite. I'm sorry to wake you up, but are you satisfied where you are right now? Are you open to looking at an opportunity to make some significant money? That person said, you know what? I went to bed tonight really worried about where I am, not happy where I am, not happy with my work, looking for direction. What do you got? That person went on to make them hundreds of thousands of dollars. So what's the point of this story, this first story I would love to have you take away? And that is, make a commitment to contact 1, 2, 3, I don't care what it is, but be consistent and don't go to bed without doing it. And it's this daily consistent activity that we have to do in network marketing that's unlike a lot of professions, and that is we build a business, we build an income, we build a commission by contacting people and telling them our story. Now, the beautiful thing about how we work, and I'm going to talk about how this person sponsored 100, is we have tools that can do a lot for you. So I'm going to talk about what tools you need to do. Okay, number 2, by the way, tool has to do with videos primarily. So you don't have to do the talking. Number 2, I'm going to suggest after you get out this call, you need to take a little review of your life, and you're going to have to say no to something that is taking up too much of your time. Much of your time. All right. So I'm going to give you my own example. I usually get up before 6 because I have to take my daughter to school, but I like to get some work done. Does everybody know on this phone that most of the billionaires in the world and many of the most successful people get up at 4 a.m.? I'm going to write that down. Most billionaires, when you read about them, and those that are successful, get up at 4 a.m., 5 a.m., somewhere in that time. I mean, that is just amazing to me. I started to do that. I don't do it every day, but what a difference it's made. Now, my problem is at 6 o'clock. At 6 o'clock p.m., so I've been up almost 12 hours. I've worked during the day. And now I think it's my free time. I'm kind of, okay, I'm going to relax and entertain. So I watch Sean Hannity and Laura Ingraham, and I got in the habit of it because I like to find out what's going on. But you know that takes this time period from 6 to 8 is really critical to building our business. And I just made a vow not to ever do that again. I'm going to either review it later on at night, or I'm going to take a quick look at it, but I'm going to stop. So I want everybody on this line to take a little review of their life, and I want you to make sure you take out a calendar. And if you don't have one, if you don't have a schedule for this next week of what you're doing, that's a real clue that you're not being as efficient. One more tidbit you should know, that usually the difference between success and mediocrity is how you use those 24 hours. We all have the same 24 hours. The question is, how are you using them? What are you doing? What are your time wasters? What's stopping you from being successful in your AEGEA business? And you need to really look hard at that. Number 3 for me is what Shane was talking about. I think you need to spend at least a half hour a day on motivational and self-improvement. And those are books and tapes. Now, who is that? That could be Eric Worre. You know, it could be Norman Vincent Peale, or you mentioned, I forgot you mentioned, Shane, I think you mentioned Napoleon Hill, for example. You can look at Maxwell. You can look at, one of my favorite in MLM is Danny Johnson. She's phenomenal. Sorry, Shane. Doing Maxwell. Brian Tracy, Robbins, Tony Robbins, on and on and on. I don't know who your favorites are, but those are just a few. I could on and on. I'm going to tell you a story I read just last week. There was a woman, again, in her 20s, who was not making much in networking, and she decided to devote 3 hours in the morning. Now, I'm not saying you have to do 3 hours. I'm just telling you her true story. Within 30 days, she went from almost making very little to over $4,000 a month. Now, obviously, there's no guarantee of income, but it goes to show you how important your own personal mindset, making the list, making the goals, doing the affirmation, reading that day in and day out, filling your mind with the motivation, the possibilities, and all that's required to change your mindset, because we are all facing a lot of negativity in the world, a lot of things that distract, things that get our belief. We're in an industry, if you didn't realize, there's a lot of rejection. There's a lot of people, you'll mention what the AEGEA program is about, what the patches are doing, what kind of income that we're making or can make, and they're just not going to be ready to hear it. So we get rejection. So you're going to go through the numbers, and when you start studying every day what it takes to be successful, and if you just stay with a daily commitment of reaching out to a couple, 3 people every day, 5 or 6 days a week, you'll be amazed at how your business will start to grow. I'm going to stop right there for a second and ask Dave Blackburn. Dave, you there? Can I mute yourself?
Yes.
Dave.
Yes, George, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. I'm not. I could go on, but I'd like to stop right there and have you give your sense on what we've gone over so far.
Well, first of all, I'm David Blackburn. I live in a small town in North Carolina, Asheboro, and I just want to start by thanking Jeff Cohen, Eric Swain, all of the leaders that are involved in building this great company. I mean, I can't begin to tell you. I mean, we have something magical here if we'll just do like George says, roll up our sleeves, give it a couple hours a day. And I mean, every day that you can. I'm an older guy. I've been in the precious metals business here in North Carolina for 40 years, like Shane told you, but I work 6 days a week. I'm at the store as we speak, and I still find time to build the AEGEA business. But I wanted to share one thing that I've had a lot of success with, and it's because in the very beginning, when I first got started, Eric Swain sent me a couple of these Freshness Cards, and he said, look, give this a try. We're just experimenting with it, and let us know what you think. So I got them. I put one of them in the refrigerator here at the store, and I took one home and put it on the counter where we keep our fruit and all. I noticed that, you know, I don't care if when you go to the grocery store, you'll have bananas. You can pick them as green as you want to, but within 2 or 3 days, they start going downhill. I laid this card underneath them, and after 4 or 5 days, I noticed that they had a few little brown spots on them, but they hadn't gone downhill like they usually do. So after 7 or 8 days, I dug into one just to see what it was like. It had begun to turn a little brown, but it was still firm and in the way I like a banana, not all mushy and soggy and everything. So I was impressed with that. But the next thing was that I had the little card in the refrigerator at the store, and the kids called and they said, hey, how about bringing some steaks home? Let's grill out. I said, great idea. So went to the grocery store, got them, put them in the refrigerator, and I don't know, we got busy, and 3 or 4 days later, they asked about what happened to the steaks. And I'm thinking, Oh goodness, they're in the refrigerator, and I know what's going to happen in the morning. I need to get in there and can those things. I went in first thing, opened the refrigerator, opened the bag. They were as pretty and pink as ever, and I looked at the little ticket on there, and it showed they were like 4 days past the best use date. So that really, got my attention. I went to every little store up and down the strip here where my business is, and I'm thinking these guys need to try this. I mean, this can save them a lot of money because if you have a bakery or a grocery store or a florist or whatever, a lot of your profit goes in the dumpster every day when you go through and pull out all the things that molded overnight or went downhill. So after we got the product out, I started going door to door and look, here's what we've got. Here's how it works. Give it a try. Some of them said, oh, no problem. Some of them said, I'm not too sure about that. But I felt so strong about this product that I made them a deal. Order the $1.99 package, which consists of 3 freshness cards. Try those for 30 days, and if for some reason you don't see the results, call me or no, a lot of you I see every day anyway. I'll give you the $1.99 back. All I want is my cards back because you're doing something wrong or you're not paying attention. Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. I got a few calls from these different merchants, but they weren't wanting their money back. They wanted to know how to get 3 more cards or 2 more cards. So every little bakery, every little Mexican grocery store, they usually have meats, produce, baked goods, everything in the store. They have been a huge, customer of mine, and I'm telling you, if you don't have these already, when we get through with this call, get in your back office, order you 3, put 1 in the refrigerator, 1 on the counter, and 1 in the pantry, and I guarantee you, you'll see the results that come out of this. But that's basically it, George.
Well, David, that's a phenomenal story. And of course, we could spend time on any of the products. So we're going to take a little break and I want to ask you a few questions, David.
Okay.
I want to focus a little bit on the Freshness card. What Jeff asked me to do is, for me or anybody who's doing a Saturday call, spend some time on one of the products, kind of highlight one. So there's the burn, there's the energy card, this is the nitro, that's the relief, the shield, and the freshness card. You go to more info. It is amazing, Dave. And one of the stories I heard early on was about flowers. I know that one of the distributors talked about having, now this is what I do. I go up and get flowers once a week, and I hate the fact you pay $15 sometimes, $7 to $15, and like in 1 or 2 days they start wilting. Dave, I put the freshness card under this, and they're lasting like 5-6 days. I mean, you're talking about a card, David, that can save everybody. Every household should have one of these. And the other reason I like it, I want you to talk about, is the fact that most people have a little bit of skepticism, but they're also open-minded. Why do you think the people you talk to were open to trying the freshness card?
Well, first of all, they're interested in, if they're paying attention, they're interested in saving money. I mean, their livelihood at the store or the florist depends on the bottom line. If they can get an extra 7 to 10 days out of tomatoes or cilantro or lettuce, I mean, that's huge. Same way with the restaurants that I've sold it to. They put them in the coolers, and if they can get their produce and their meat to give them an extra few days instead of having to put it in the dumpster, this is huge at the end of the year. I mean, it's all about saving money, and so they're all ears about it. They're not sure if what I'm telling them is true, that it's going to work, but once they get it and try it and they see the extra life that it's shelf life that it's given them, then of course it's a done deal, and they're wanting to get some more to go in a different area, or maybe near the baked goods or the bread or whatever. One Mexican restaurant told me, he says, we put it over near the tortilla chips. He said they stay fresher than just leaving them in the container there. So, I mean, it's all about the bottom line, but that's true at home. I mean, if it's saving you money out of your vegetable tray, lettuce, cilantro, tomatoes, meat, cheese, milk, everything in the refrigerator, you're going to notice that you're getting a few extra days out of it, and it adds up at the end of the year.
It really does. There's two things that struck me when you talked, David. One was you were so positive. You knew in your heart this worked. So for everybody on this line, I'm not going to put that note down, but it is, you've got to get passionate, and your belief has to be through the roof on what these products can do. And the only way to do that is to use the product and really experience what it can do. Because when you come at somebody with that kind of belief, it's hard for them to say no, isn't it, David?
It is. I mean, you nailed it, George. If you feel good about it and strong about it, which I did, because I had in my mind the proof, what it did for the bananas at home and what it did for the meat in the refrigerator, I didn't have any reservations about, just telling them, hey, look, try it for 30 days. If you're not 100% happy, I don't care about you sending it back to the company. Just call me. I'll give you $1.99 cash back, and I'll pick up the cards, rinse them off, and I'll use them for demos or give them as gifts or something, but they won't be wasted. And when you got that attitude and they understand and they're looking you in the eye and they see that you've got some enthusiasm there and you believe in it, they'll give it a shot with a good open mind.
Well, look, I have one chat here. She says, we consistently get 14 to 19 days out of fresh cut flowers. I mean, that alone would save you $15. At least save me $15 to $30 a month. I love to have fresh flowers. And the other reason I like this, David, is because it's something you could actually, if you get 3 to 6 of these and you just went around to friends and let them borrow it for a week, first of all, it doesn't ruin it. It's not like the patches where you give them out and basically you can't reuse them. You can do this over and over again. And what it does, David, it proves to people that these frequencies are not hocus pocus. It's not pie in the sky. It's not a weird science. It is an exact science which can be provable. You know, I taught chemistry for 15 years, and here's the thing about science. It doesn't matter whether you believe or not believe. When you show pictures like this where people can experience it, it proves it. And it's not like it's going to work 5% of the time or 10% of the time. You're working on a placebo. It works 100% of the time.
You're right, George.
So if there's another thing you can take away from the call this morning, it is that if you would just take the Freshness card and maybe get 3 this month and just hand them out to people, call people up and just say, hey, you're not going to believe this, but there is a card that can extend, that I can let you borrow, that could extend the life of your fruits, vegetables. Or you could just say, hey, do you ever have the experience of buying raspberries or strawberries or meat and forgetting about it and it's rotten or destroyed in the first 3 or 4 days? They're going to say yes. What if there was a simple card I could let you borrow that I guarantee can change that and actually extend that life? Yeah, and so there's so many ways to start an easy conversation. But what we do a lot of times, David, and let's talk about this, let's switch to building a business, is we get off a call like this and we're afraid to either pick up the phone and call somebody and tell them a story, or we're afraid to talk to somebody. David, how do we get over that and let people know about the Freshness card? What is your best advice?
George, you've given the best advice. Get on the phone and share it with them. You know, social media, I'm not real strong on that. I mean, it's past me, but nothing beats a telephone call or a one-on-one meeting with them. And once they see the product and see your enthusiasm, I think they're going to at least give it a look. And then if they see what we see, they're going to start sharing this product once they get involved in the business with all of their friends. And that's how it starts. You just pick out something that, I mean, there's so many products here that we have, and every one of them work, and they're wonderful. But this just happens to be one that I've been real successful with. But jumping around, one more thing, George, about the flowers. If you'll take and run some water over that quantum card and put it in there with the flowers too, that's going to perk them up too and give you some extra days. I've found that out in sharing it with the florist that I've got using the Freshness card.
You know, so what we're recommending, everybody, be your own testimony, be your own scientist, be your own testing. That's what these products are for. The difference between this and, say, a nutritional supplement, and I love the nutritional supplement industry, but it's a very hit and miss. We've got products that can actually prove that. And I've been doing this for a long time, and I can tell you the most effective way to build the AEGEA business for me is to talk to people and to go see them and demonstrate them, or send them through the mail and let them get them and test them. One or the other. Now, I mentioned I'm going to talk to you about the 100, the way she did. She sponsored 100 without talking to people, but I would combine the two. I'm going to talk a little bit about the social media she uses and the system in about 10 minutes, and we'll end with that. But Dave, before we go, I got to mention, just go off the Freshness card. What are the other patches or products we have, including the card, that you like to demonstrate for people, and how do you do it?
The quantum card. And you know, you can tell them all of the different things that we've found the quantum card will do, but there's still, you know, I'm not too sure about that. This old guy's kind of lost it, I think. But if you'll get the lime and cut it and put a couple of slices on the card, and then leave the rest 4 or 5 feet away, and let them taste the card, the lime that's been on the card for 30 or 40 seconds, and then try the other one. They can. I mean, it's magic. I mean, it sells it right there, and it makes a believer out of them. They don't know, and I certainly don't know the technology behind it, but I do know it works. And once they see it works and actually taste it and experience it, guess what? I mean, they're on board and they want to know more about it. But I think that's the quantum card is. I mean, it's just something that's a must to have around your neck or in your pocket or wherever every day that you're walking and talking and breathing. And then at night, I take it, and I sometimes have difficult sleeping, and put it in the pillowcase. And guess what? I mean, I can tell a difference. I mean, it just, you know, gives you some rest that night. But I mean, every product we have. I mean, probably the EMF Shield is probably the best undiscovered product that we have. When I see kids and grandkids, and look at him, he's 2 years old, he's cute as a button, and look at him, he knows how to play with that iPhone or that pad or whatever. I'm thinking, get that thing away from that child, and give him some building blocks to play with, because you're burning him up. And I think that's where we're getting a lot of this cancer in kids, and attention deficit disorders. I mean, we're just they're exposed to it through the microwave, the smart TV, the iPad, the iPhone, the meter on the side of your house. I mean, we're doing it to ourselves. But well, you try to take the phone away from him and he starts crying. Well, give it back to him then, so he'll shut up. Well, that's not true. Let him cry it out, but give him those building blocks or a notepad and tell him to work on that a little while. But I see it all the time, and it really is hard for me to comprehend why parents can't see what all these things are doing, all this technology is doing to us. But I mean, we got amazing products, George. You know it better than me.
Well, Lulianne, I think, raised her hand. You want to say something or ask a question? If somebody has a question at this time?
Yeah.
I just agree.
You just agree, okay. You know,
I agree. And also because the kids are not having any communication with people anymore. It's all becoming very cold. So yes, 2 years old, you can do that, but you can't talk to people and you don't have
That's
communication.
right.
And we're going to lose that in the next generation.
and I
I'm a
agree.
nurse, and I see a lot of children. I see a lot of people. They have dinners, and everybody's texting at the table. Not good for your psychological well-being.
Yeah, that's the second reason to do that, and that's a whole nother issue about you know, every age, every generation has its influences that come on that generation, and to us, it definitely is the head down into the world of an iPad or your phone, and not communicating and interacting with people, and it definitely is having an effect. And get them into network marketers, go talk to people. But my daughter's having the same issue. So great point there. But for everybody on this phone, we will spend some time, I think, next week, specifically on the quantum card. We'll go through all the demos that you can do. And each week, as you get this training, we're hoping that you'll take something away that's going to improve your life, improve your business, and grow your business. And these have been some great tips. I think, for me, the EMF is the best insurance, and for the cost of $20, it is so inexpensive. You can find so much on the internet about 5G, about the effects, and whether people believe it or not. I mean, how can you just take a chance? It's very much, in my mind, the society at large, in terms of the scientists, they'll tell you it's not affecting. The cell phone industry has all their studies, but it reminds me very much of the smoking, where my parents smoked, and the whole thing back there in the 40s and 50s was, you know, it was a great thing to do, and there was no problem. And yet, in the back of your mind, you're thinking to yourself, how can all that smoke not cause a problem? It wasn't 30, 40 years later when the final study showed, well, yeah, it is doing all kinds of stuff. So I think the same thing's going to happen here. I think within 10 years, maybe 5 years, the jury will be out that this stuff really is detrimental to your brain. I mean, the studies and stuff are out there. It's just still not mainstream. But that talks a little bit about the mission of what we're doing here at AEGEA. We are bringing a whole new technology to the world. And network marketing, to me, is the best way to do it, because it's something that the media is not promoting, and they're not going to understand it on radio and TV. With the way they're going to understand it is to hear it from you, somebody they trust and know, and to demonstrate it. And we've got the products to demonstrate. So I think it's phenomenal. So I'm going to finish up the last two things I was talking about, which was number 3, was listen to some motivation. I happened to look at Arnold. I'm just going to play like just a second of this. Now look at all the stuff you can get. Get it done. Beautiful moments. This is why we love Arnold. He talks about it. All this stuff. There's a lot of motivational stuff on YouTube. I try to listen to 15, 20 minutes a day of this kind of stuff and just get an idea if you can hear us or not.
I went to college. I went and worked out 5 hours a day. And I was working on construction. Because in those days in bodybuilding, there was no money. I didn't have the money for food supplements or anything.
He goes on to say what is inspirational about him. Here's the one thing I took away from him. He did not waste 1 minute of the day. He sleeps 6 hours. He says if you go past 6, sleep faster. And then he worked construction, and he worked out 5 hours a day. And the reason he did that is he had a goal. He had a vision. When he did his workouts, he said he was always smiling, because every time he lifted weights, it got him closer to your goal. Now, how do we relate that to our AEGEA business? Every time you talk to somebody, whether they say yes or no, you are closer to your goal. If your goal is to build a part-time income here or full-time, if your goal is to impact the world positively with products that most people don't know about, if you were to talk to 100 people today, 99 at least 99, don't know about AEGEA. Maybe you've talked to a few of them. So maybe it's 75 out of 100. But whatever it is, there's a lot of people you know that don't know about AEGEA, and they don't know you're in business. And to me, it's a responsibility for two things. One, for yourself, your income, and your family. But just as importantly, these people need to know about these products and how it can improve their health. David?
Yes.
What your response on that?
I apologize. I was speaking to a customer, telling him I'd be out there in just a minute. I didn't hear.
No, it's okay. Dave,
You're gonna have to let me off the hook on that one. I'm sorry.
I will let you off the hook. You know, it reminds me of when I was in school, I'd ask a question and they tell the student just in La La Land. So, David, I'm going to give you a pass on
I was in La La Land. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm going to do 4 and 5 real quick, and they're going to tell you what she did to sponsor this 100. You need to get into action early. We talked about 4 o'clock. I mentioned last week the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. David, this is something I saw from a woman. She says this not only happens in the morning, it happens at points all day long. Your mind is in a habit. It wants to be comfortable. It wants to be safe. It wants to be in whatever you did before. We've been doing for the last 5 years. Whatever you did the last week, it wants to repeat because you're still alive. So you are always against a resistance of getting out of your comfort zone. So to get past there, she counts 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, get up. And then she just stands up. Or 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, pick up the phone and call. David, I want to talk about this. There are 3 skills we need in network marketing. The first one is you have to pick up the phone and you have to call people. And that is one of the hardest things to do for most people. David, how do you help yourself make the calls or talk to people?
I don't have to make myself do that. I mean, I enjoy doing that. And I think, like I said earlier, that's how I communicate. I don't do the text messaging and the Facebook and all of that. I pick up the phone and call my people that I'm working with every day. What are we going to do today? What kind of issues do you have? I mean, what can we do to get them resolved? I mean, you just have to. I just like getting up in the morning. I mean, the minute I get into the store and get settled and I get everything taken care of, I get on the phone and start making these same calls. And if it's nothing but saying hello to my team or my group or whoever I was working with the day before, it comes natural. I mean, instead of sending them a text message, I pick up the phone and call them. I mean, that's the easiest thing there is for me.
Well, if it's not easy for you, it can become easy when you have some fresh testimonials. So what I like to do, David, sometimes I go to the YouTube and I'll just listen to some of the testimonials. I'll go to some of these old trainings, and boy, it just gets me fired up to remind myself how powerful these patches are and why I need to tell that story. And then finally, I like to use a 3-way call. This is one of my favorite methods of communicating and talking to people. And I have a simple 1, 2, 3 system. Number 1, I pick up the phone and I call people and I just ask them, I'll tell them a story, maybe about the Freshness Cards. I'll say something like, I usually talk about maybe the relief more often. Do you or is there someone, can I tell you a quick story? You might not know, but I've been overweight for the last 3 or 4 years. I mean, I don't know about you, but as I get older, it's been so tough to lose weight. But David, I just lost 8 pounds in the last week and a half. You want to know how?
Yes, I'd love to know how.
Okay, well, what I want to do you mind if I send you a little video because it shows you what I did? Because this thing is freaking amazing. You're not gonna believe it. If I send you a quick video, it shows you what I did. Would you take a few minutes and look at it?
Absolutely.
That's it. So I pick up the phone. I tell a little story. It can be about your weight loss. It can be about your comfort, your discomfort relief. We might use the other word. Or it could be the Freshness Card, just a personal testimonial that's happened to you. And then I don't sit on the phone and explain everything to David, because once you go down the rabbit hole of trying to explain, So David, if I say, hey, I lost weight, then if I go into this, well, David, what I got is I got these little patches. Now, these little patches send out a little signal. And these signals go into the body, and they have 36 different. Hello, David? Hello? Hello? See, if you start going down the explanation, Dave, is that not true? Is that the major mistake most of us make?
That is a big one, yes.
The big mistake is trying to explain the whole thing over the phone. You do one or two things. I like to send them a video on what is going on, and that's in the AEGEA site, so they've got some sense of what it is. And then you're going to do one or two things. You're either going to send them some patches to try, or you're going to go over to the house and let them try it. If David was within driving distance, after he said, yeah, I say, David, it's something I got to show you. It's something you've never seen before. If I ran over in the next half hour, could I, if I showed you how it worked, would you look at it? He's going to say, yeah. So you drive over. If at all possible, get in front of them, because the patches aren't something you can explain over the phone easily. It's not something you can. What was that song about? I can't mail it to you. Joke about a kid. You can't mail a kid. Okay? So you have to go over and demonstrate. If they're not there, then you can send them a video, follow up, and let them try the patches. So, and then I do a 3-way call with someone like you, David, if they have any questions. And that's the 1, 2, 3. 1, quick call. 2, you follow up. You send them a video. And 3, you follow up. 1, 2, 3. Shane, do you have any comments on that? I guess not. Okay.
Sorry about that, George. I was multitasking myself at the very end there.
See, that's how it was as a school teacher. I'd pick on the kids. I knew their mind was somewhere.
Well, if I think they invented or created the word ADD, look it up. There's a picture of me without a beard, but it's there nonetheless. So I apologize.
No problem. Okay, so how she sponsored 100. She did a system called ATM. It stands for add, tag, and message. And what she used was the 2, 5, 30 method. A 2-minute video, then a 5-minute, and then a 30-minute Zoom. All right. That's the system. What is she adding to? And to a private Facebook group. So David said he doesn't use this. It just goes to show you, you can be older and use the old system of the phone and talking to people and build a large business. Or you can do what she did, not talk to one person and build a huge business. Because what she's doing is she's using what most people are doing. They don't have a lot of time. They're fascinated about Facebook. Do you know that there's 1.1 to 1.6 billion people on Facebook? 1.3 billion contacted through their phone. This is an amazing thing. This is technology I think you should use. And what she did was she'll call somebody up and said, I just found the newest science, the newest kind of devices that come out, that people are losing weight just by putting on a little patch. If I send you a Facebook, would you take a look at it and watch and look at some of the testimonials if I add you to the group? They say, sure. So then you add them to a private Facebook group that has these testimonials. Then you tag them to the video you want them to watch, the AEGEA video you want them to watch, and then you message them after and ask them how they liked it. So she used this method, a private Facebook group, tagging people, contacting people on Facebook, Instagram, all the other media that she did, and getting them into the Facebook to look at or read the different testimonials and to watch a video. And then she would just text them back and forth and get them to sign up by going to her site. I mean, that's quite an adventure. So I'm going to end this by telling you that next week, I'm here next week or the week after. I'm going to go in much more detail exactly how she did this. And we'll take you from A to Z and how she was able to sponsor 100 people by using this add, tag, and message system using videos and private Facebooks. So we, what about no computer? If there's no computer in the house, don't use computers. That's why the phone. So whatever method you want to use to build is going to work. There's no one perfect method. In fact, I used to call the phrase employ all strategies. Use everything you can, but the main thing is you have to communicate with people. You have to get them the information. The less you can talk, the more you can have the videos, and there's a lot on YouTube that have the AEGEA testimonials and a Zoom and explain the whole thing. Use those to do most explanation. We have our Tuesday night, and then use your upline and try to partner with somebody and try to hold each other accountable. So those are my best tips for the day. David, I want to thank you so much for being on and sharing all that information. Shane, maybe Shane, you can kind of summarize and close it out today, please.
You bet, George. Hey, thanks very much, and what a great job you do. I just want to say one more thing, since I was remiss in my duties just a minute ago and paying attention at the end. But folks, network marketing, the word marketing is really important. It's not net sales. It's network marketing. It's not network sales. And what I mean by that is people hate to be sold. Nobody's interested in being sold in anything. If you go down to a car dealership, it doesn't matter if you go into a Best Buy, you don't want to be sold on something. People want their needs met. When you attract people by focusing on what they want and what they need. So you could say, hey, I have this great card and it does all this great stuff for the vegetables, or I put this thing on your phone and it does that. People are going to gloss over because they know you're selling them something. Market to them. And what I mean by that is lead with what they need. For instance, I bet you have fruits and vegetables in your fridge, right? Don't you just hate when they go bad, when they spoil? Don't you hate how much it costs? Wouldn't it be amazing to be able to just figure out well, guess what? We have. Or, just find out what it is that they need. Man, you look like you could really do with a cup of coffee. I'll tell you what, I've got something a little bit better. Or I noticed that you've got this Tylenol. You're reaching for this, where you see a family member wincing or whatever. Wouldn't it be great to walk around every day without that pain? Wouldn't it be great if there was something that could help you with that? So people don't like to be sold. So remember, it's network marketing. As George said, we have a plethora of things on the internet today that can teach us those skills. If you go into Google and look up the difference between selling and marketing, you'll find some great speakers and great educational people there that will help you do that. And, that's what we did with our gold business. We didn't try to sell anybody anything. Our first commercials right at the beginning of a recession was, you deserve a shopping spree. The obvious is people wanted to sell their jewelry to us or the gold or bring their coins to us because they needed the money. They're in a recession. People are losing their jobs. We didn't want to focus on that. Our focus in our commercial was, hey, you deserve a shopping spree and we can help, because we wanted people to feel comfortable coming in to visit us rather than be embarrassed. People would see them coming into the Gold Guys to sell their precious metals because they had to, if our commercial said, hey, look, you know what, you're probably going broke and you need to make your car payment and you're losing your house or need to buy something, to survive, like food, that's too embarrassing. So our focus was on something completely an opposite of what their why was for coming to see us. People have different whys about why they want to save money or why they want to feel better. They have things going on in their lives that we have no idea. But you focus on the product and selling them on that, people just don't like it. So it's network marketing, not network sales. So I just leave that right there. We're going to get better at this. We've got I see the names on the list here, George, and it's just what a phenomenal lineup of professionals. And of course, Dave, we picked on you a lot today. George was really hammering on you. I know you're busy in there. Think about it. He's running a very busy store location, and he takes the time to help us and learn how to market these great products and with his own experience. So anyway, George, thanks very much again, everybody. Appreciate you being here. Tuesday night, we'll be back. Bring those people that you love, don't like, don't care. But market who you are, what you are. Market to them. Find out what somebody around you is looking for and fill the need without selling them. I'm Shane Maguire. Hey, it's been great to spend a Saturday with you. Here in the United States, enjoy the Super Bowl. If you're around the rest of the world, well, get on YouTube and watch Super Bowl. You'll be surprised how cool it is. Anyway, guys, have a great one. Looking forward to seeing you on the call on Tuesday night, and we're out. Take care.
Thanks, everybody.
Nice.
Thanks.
Thanks, Shane. Thanks, George.
You're welcome.